Education is a future-facing activity. As educators or instructional designers, our first priority should always be the student. The goal plans and objectives built within our plans and designs must be timely and informative in order for student success. We have to provide our students with a reliable instructional model to work from. In this technological age, education is evolving, and learning to manage a classroom from a distance is becoming the norm for professional educators. The predominant instructional model is now online and traditional face-to-face instructional technologies. Technological pathways are being developed and incorporated into formal classroom settings to help bridge the gap that exists between traditional students and the digital age student. In the current technologically pervasive environments, the classroom of the future will have to consider prior training, environment, and personal knowledge preferences of learners. Today's learning environment resembles nothing of the pedagogical framework of the past. And that poses a couple questions for us. One, given the network communication is stable, how does mobile technology enhance cognitive learning, instruction, and retention? And two, what quality measures currently exist with mobile learning? Individual learners are innovative in their exploration for information. Benedictine University at Mesa, wanting to appease their learners, began implementing a lecture-free learning environment called the flipped classroom approach. Instructors record lectures for the students to be able to view outside of the classroom. The flipped classroom helps save valuable class time and provides the student with a hands-on interactive learning experience. At Boise State University, a tech support program has been recently implemented to help keep devices running for both faculty and staff members. A real-time remote support tactic was implemented to help assist both the faculty and the students to be able to better receive technical help for most of their technological devices on and off campus. To help keep its students and nearly 19,000 faculty members connected, at Indiana University, 5,200 wireless access points were deployed. The university embraces a bring-your-own-device policy. More than 80,000 users logging on during the day can be accommodated. Smartphone applications like iCloud, Dropbox, and SugarSync offer mobile access to a wide range of digital media. While not good acculators of desktop content, the smartphone has increased our ability to access digital media. Digital thinking is being redefined as the applications and application developers become more creative in content display. With massive open online courses, MOOCs, educational content is now accessible to anyone with internet capabilities. Mobile technological devices are making it possible to learn anywhere, and digital publishers are also making educational content more engaging and adapting for classroom use as well.
My community is my classroom.
Instructional technology.
Higher educational institutions are implementing cloud-based cognitive systems to gather and evaluate massive amounts of data over an extensive time frame, thus creating longitudinal student archives that help provide instructors with the material they will need to provide personalized learning experiences for their students. Cloud-based cognitive systems combine a student's goals and personal interests with information on their learning styles. Instructors can then determine the type of content to offer students and the best way to present it. The instructor will be able to use the cognitive system to better understand student learning styles and be better able to develop a plan that addresses any problem area. Instructors also benefit by being able to identify students who are more at risk or understand why they may be lagging behind, as well as gaining some understanding into the interventions one can implement to overcome these barriers. The material would also be automatically tagged, allowing the student to spend more time learning the information they need rather than trying to hunt for it. When you give students the technological tools they need to be successful while removing some of the rigid constraints that traditional education has imposed on students, you encourage self-learning and promote innovation. This problem-based learning study will focus on grade 8 from a selected middle school supported by a common teacher collaboration time where teachers assigned to specific teams will be able to share ideas and meet about students, curricula, and assessment during a common daily planning session. Study will include 2 8th grade social study teachers across 10 classrooms and include all 8th grade students. 60% of the 8th grade students will be involved with traditional non-flipped or cloud classroom procedures and are referred to as the controlled group. 40% of the students will receive the treatment, flipped classroom, cloud-based classroom, and are known as the experimental group. This sample will focus on a middle school where the ratio of male and females is measured within 2%. This study will have a non-equivalent quasi-experimental design that spans a month. The study will assess the effective outcomes through pre-test, treatment, and post-test procedures. The measured component included science, technology, attitudes, and self-efficiency. The post-test will measure student achievements of social studies processing skills. The actual study assignment will consist of students obtaining demographic, cultural, social, psychographic, and government data of their local community. Students from both the control and experimental groups will be paired up for this assignment. The control group will use traditional non-flipped classroom techniques such as paper maps, county records, books, etc., storing their obtained information on USB storage drives. The treatment group will use a combination of flipped classrooms, cloud-based, and mobile technologies to access, obtain, and store information. Students will be given a pretest to determine their pre-study local social studies aptitude, providing a more ideal procedure on pairing students and providing a measure to assess achievements. Students will be given a post-test to determine post-study local social studies aptitudes where achievement can be assessed in a comparison to pre-test. This study will investigate the effects of supporting technology on social studies process skills and aptitudes. The research hypothesis is, number one, the average social studies achievement scores of students using flipped classroom and mobile technologies for problem-based learning are higher than those using traditional non-technical study techniques. Number two, attitude and self-efficiency scores for social studies instruction are higher than scores of pairs using traditional non-technical study techniques. The measure of student attitude or feelings toward learning social studies and technology is a big factor in this study. Arguments have been made that attitudes can be changed from one learning experience. Increased measurable attitudes can be assumed independent variables, leading to higher personal investment, persistence, continued involvement over time, and ideal enhanced performance, according to Cassidy, 2000. Measures of self-efficiency are important to determining and assessing the value of teaching and learning. The determination of whether or not the tools are in place for the student to complete the given task, and the level of materials the students have to perform the task. For the control group, these tools will include local guidebooks, maps, local history books, and pictures. The experimental group will be using mobile devices that have access to cloud containing the same information in digital format as the control group. Experimental group will also have applications on the device that provides mapping pictures, information through augmented reality, and ability to take pictures and share socially. Performance assessments are used to determine the effectiveness of problem-based learning. The same post-test will be provided to both the controlled and the experimental groups. A rubric for testing will be provided that contain the following coarse-grained elements: results of the study, what information was collected from the experiment, data analysis, how did the student cognitively organize the data, conclusions, what did the student learn, further research, and what do I learn next. Also, additional sub-criteria will be added to the rubrics to expand the analyzed data. 2 8th grade teachers will oversee and administer the pre-test and post-test data collection. Individual student project data will be collected by each of the student pairs and uploaded to the cloud. Cloud-based data storage allows the teachers to monitor the progress of the experimental students digitally during the experimental time frame. The control group, on the other hand, using traditional methods of learning, will be monitored weekly by weekly assignments turned in. The hybrid classrooms, like the one in our study, are not without their fair share of opposition. There are some who worry that flipped and/or online classes fail to create a learning environment. They feel learners are only being offered course content without the learning environment. To refute that, most hybrid classrooms should already have an emphasis towards creating a learning environment pre-programmed into their instructional design. Part of the purpose of the hybrid courses is to create a blending learning environment where students can engage in a self-directed process that will help them build upon their prior knowledge, one where students are able to retrieve, reuse, revise, and retain information. Opponents stress that not enough instructors have the instructional design capabilities or the learning science backgrounds to adequately build hybrid courses. Teachers' salaries are also at stake here. However, for those instructors who want to teach using a hybrid method and they have the necessary skills, they shouldn't be restricted from doing so. They will be the inventors for the next generation of hybrid learning environments. Prior research is also limited, and ongoing e-learning pedagogies are developing around it. More research is needed to help set standards and best practices within the technological arena. There's also the issue that time spent in developing hybrid courses is greater than traditional face-to-face courses. This may be true, but it doesn't impact learning, at least not the hybrid side. In fact, it can be more enriching, basically because more thought has been put into it, more opportunities to flip the classroom and build in scaffolding tools to keep students motivated to learn have been added. Technology-based interventions can have an important positive effect on academia and the academic-related outcomes of secondary school-age learners. Technology-based interventions, scaffolding tools like computers and handheld GIS devices, do not seem to be problematic for students to learn to use, possibly due to the learner's familiarity with different forms of technology encountered in other scopes of learning. In this study, no significant differences in gender or race would affect the effectiveness of technology-based interventions, and adaptive technology for those with a disability can be easily obtained. There is no significant loss of a learning environment. An emphasis toward creating a learning environment is already pre-programmed into the instructional designs that were created. Instructors foster a learning environment that helps learners enter that zone of curiosity, which in turn keeps them motivated and engaged in the learning process. Instructors are still on hand to act as guides and direct when needed during the learning process. The role that technology will play in the future of education depends on the research and development of future tools and a clear disclosure of findings from those who will be at the forefront of the next technological wave. Global, governmental, charitable, and commercial networks are emerging that will foster our economic stability as well as provide for our basic defenses. Educational technology will be the catalyst that all of these networks will be connected through. Education has a responsibility into the vision and role that technology will play in the future. Substitutes and resistance are also foreseen as new pedagogies and models will form and challenge the current structure. We need to adhere to the side of caution with influence that will break those systems that have lasting and proven success. On the forefront of education, especially in rural distance education, we now have blended classrooms where students split their time in a face-to-face classroom one week, online the next, and in the field doing survey or experiments after that. We need to be diligently watching for what new standards of core might mean for these learning environments. We need to invest more in exploration of social and cultural contexts that might bring about new technologies and the development of new scenarios, leading to better projections of what future cultures might benefit from. Resistance is always in the way of innovation, as is political persuasion. Not everything that is presented will be considered when designing the educational models of the future.